All right, welcome to this session on the Davos Cyber Future Dialogue 2024. My name is Lingaraj Patil. I am Executive Chair at the Purple Book Community. I'm pleased to have Cassie Crossley, who is VP of Supply Chain Security at Schneider Electric. And Cassie, I have known her for several years now, and she's been talking about supply chain security and SBOM even before people knew what SBOM was about. She's one of the foremost experts, so I'm very thrilled to have her here to get her perspective on supply chain security, what happened in 2023, and what we can look forward to in 2024. So, Cassie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Raj. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
All right, yeah. So, Cassie, I know whenever we talk about supply chain security, right? And the 2023, quite a few things happened in supply chain security in terms of the developments. So, what stands out in your mind when you look at supply chain security in 2023?
Well, a lot of what I worked on this year was a project specifically with a large customer on transparency. We know that now software bill of materials is important and a transparent aspect of it, but what it doesn't give you is so much more information. It doesn't really establish that relationship. And I was very excited to see that at the Davos year for 2024 that they're using the theme rebuilding trust, because establishing trust and rebuilding it or just maintaining it is an important part of that. And to me, that has completely been my objective this year, is to work on that transparency relationship. I work with government customers, business customers, and suppliers every day. And so that communication and the relationships by sharing information and being forthcoming about where there might be gaps, it's important so that we can all do, especially in the cybersecurity arena, to make sure that we put in the appropriate controls and defenses to fill in any kind of gaps.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So in terms of this is kind of the foundation you talked about, building trust when it comes to people communication, being forthright about what the gaps are and what we need to work on. And also it, in some ways, talks about supply chain security, tries to bring the transparency into what goes into the software itself, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think going into 2024 now, how would this impact the trends, supply chain security trends in 2024?
Yeah, for supply chain security, and especially software supply chain security, there is going to be a shift that I believe is led by governments, but also customers who are asking for more detailed information. In the past, for example, for cloud platforms, we had SOC 2 reports, which gave great data, but it doesn't give insight into the development and the creation and the design and the product always itself. And so in this year, we will see things such as CISA putting out the Secure Software Development Attestation Form, where they will want to know for any federal procurement, did you follow these requirements and proper practices to be able to build secure software? And I believe that customers and other governments around the world will adopt this practice for asking this level of detail. And this is the kind of detail that I've been working with my suppliers for anything we put in our products for the last several years, is going into, did you follow a secure development lifecycle? What are your processes for deployment? How do you manage data? All of that is very important, and it's not covered in the normal IT security practices that we see in examples like SOC 2. And so I really see that shift and movement to 2024. And that's scary for development teams that have not released that information in the past, because you're worried about being graded for something you didn't know that there was going to be a test for. But that's the part of learning, is we're trying to shift and make that clear so that somebody can have a proper response to it. And we saw this start more from Log4j, but this real visibility into secure development practices is, I believe, the most significant shift coming up for 2024.
All right. Yeah, very good. So I'd like to maybe double click on one point there. So you are now essentially saying that when it comes to building relationships with the suppliers, especially suppliers of software, it's not just the procurement department's responsibility, but as software leaders, you should actually be building relationships with the suppliers of your software, right?
Yes.
So that's one. And so tell me, how many products are there in Schneider Electric?
I'm sorry?
Schneider Electric has how many products?
Oh,
Thousands,
intelligent products, I would say around 15,000. And then just overall SKUs, it's hundreds of thousands. But
hundreds
that's
of
a
thousands, right?
significant. So we have 52,000 suppliers in general in the company, both
Yeah,
indirect and direct. For those intelligent suppliers that provide us something for our products and for the products, if they do any manufacturing or something, that's 2,000 suppliers.
yeah,
So, that's a lot of suppliers. And obviously, we've categorized them and prioritized them. But
yeah,
as we bring on new suppliers, we go through this product security assessment and ask them these detailed questions. And some even mid-sized mature suppliers, they're learning. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book that's coming out in a few weeks called Software Supply Chain Security, because I kept referencing NIST documentation or this documentation and this and this. And I'm a product security officer, but I couldn't be their product security officer.
right.
And so I wrote this book that really talks about this end-to-end supply chain. What do they need to be concerned about? Because all of these kind of challenges that we face, whether it be working with suppliers or even our own teams, we need to have that understanding of where some of the risks are, because you really can't address the risk if you don't know it's there.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So now, so talking about the book that you are writing, right, Cassie? Yeah, I remember our collaboration on the Purple Book community a couple of years back, and how you brought in the focus on supply chain security at that point. We were not thinking about it, but you said that's important, and it ended up becoming a chapter. Now I'm very intrigued. Yeah, that chapter has now become a book in itself
That's right.
that in some ways shows the shift that has happened from 2021 to 2024 now, about how what was just a chapter has now become a book, an important part of what we are doing. So
Right.
can you tell me a bit more about the book and what people can expect to see in that?
Sure. I wrote this in mind with those suppliers and those companies and organizations that don't have that leadership and skill set. It covers areas and topics that you would normally expect, talking about secure development life cycles, secure coding, secure testing, but it also includes things such as infrastructure security for development environments. I'm a developer by background. The
Yeah,
environments that we have control over as developers are generally hands off for IT security folks. And yet they present a significant risk, both with source code and potential IP loss, but just even a developer bringing down a project because they want that plugin on their environment, that could have compromised code in it, and malicious activity could occur from that. So this book covers, it's meant to work through different controls that they may want to implement. So if you are a two-person organization, you can look at these controls and say, these would be a few, controls that I want to implement, such as making sure that I'm evaluating and assessing and scanning and patching developer environments without it causing and working in tandem with the developers. It can't be an environment where there's any kind of hostile. You have to work together in all of this. And it also, I included a chapter on how to work with suppliers, like this, what we're talking about now is how do you build that trust? What if they're not responding? What should you be looking for? People who are not application security folks, they don't know what to look at and what are the key points that I should be, investigating when I'm asking these questions. That doesn't mean they have to be experts, but if somebody says, no, I don't have, for example, secure coding roles, then there might be some additional risk because they're not looking at maybe some secure by design techniques. And that's
right.
all it's meant to do, is give you this sense of, how do I understand the entire topic? And I include hundreds of references that if they want to learn and go down to the detail, then they can go to the research material and information to learn more about it.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So it's from my dialogue with you, it's very clear in terms of the supply chain security. The focus is so much on the people in everything that you talk about, right? So we have talked about technology. There is people, process, technology. You're putting a lot of emphasis on people because ultimately that's what it takes to move, make a big impact on this. From building relationships with the suppliers to being transparent with them, with your suppliers and who you are supplying to about
That's
any
right.
gaps that you might have. So going into 2024, what would be your call to action, so to say, on supply chain security?
Yeah. My call to action is we all recognize that vulnerabilities exist. There will be situations out there that, let's just say, are it's going to cause problems in different
Yeah,
places. Things will go down. Is that you need to have the appropriate plan of action, but you can really only develop that plan of action by understanding your really resilience plan and what's going on. And supply chain security is such a part of that. So if you are dependent on any kind of product or any kind of service, and if it's going to be down or offline for 5 days, what are you going to do? I know that we don't hear that much about disaster recovery and business continuity anymore, but cyber resilience is an important part. And supply chain security is one of the things that will affect cyber resilience so much in the coming years. And we hear it every day. Supply chain security attacks create other supply chain security attacks. And
yeah.
that's why we need to be very concentrated in working with our suppliers.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Cassie. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I look forward to seeing your book when it comes out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Raj.
All right. Thank you.